Thanks for the introduction. It is truly a pleasure to be here today. It was Sunday, a week before I was supposed to leave for Cape Town, South Africa, to be a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar. I was sitting in church in our family pew, trying but failing to pay attention as I went through the to-do list in my head. Pack all of my earthly possessions and put them into 2 suitcases. Say goodbye to this friend and that friend, and really all my friends. Confirm my flights and make copies of my University of Cape Town admissions forms. All this to do before my family took me to the airport on Friday morning. Then all of a sudden, I tuned in to what the minister was saying. He said, the worst thing to do when you are afraid on the ski slopes is to lean back in your skis. Lean forward on your skis and you'll be all right. Lean forward on your skis. Lean forward into the adventure. I took the advice to heart and I spent a year leaning forward. Turns out it's a lot easier to lean forward when you have the internet. Last year's Rotary International President, Ray Klingensmith, was an ambassadorial scholar to Cape Town in 1961. He sent one letter to his host Rotary Club that told the estimated time and date of his cargo ship's arrival in Cape Town. He hopped on a boat in New Orleans and arrived at the Cape Town harbor over a month later, hoping someone would be there to pick him up. Now, before I left the Springfield, Missouri airport, I could see my apartment using Google Maps Street View feature. I was able to buy a car quickly and easily upon my arrival in South Africa using South Africa's version of Craigslist. I drove this white little Renault Megane on gravel roads all over the South African coast. The other thing that made my leaning in on my skis a lot easier was the wonderful hospitality the Rotary Club of Wynberg showed to me during my year. I stayed with a Rotaractors family for 2 weeks before I moved into my apartment. My host counselor, Bev, is the director of the University of Cape Town's Law Clinic for the Underprivileged. She helped me to register for Ray's Reunion, which past RI President Ray Klingensmith organized as a reunion for all past ambassadorial scholars who had attended the University of Cape Town since 1961. Bev also assigned me to work with the club's advisory committee to a local struggling high school, Lavender Hill, which sees a 75% dropout rate. Throughout the year, I was continually welcomed as a speaker by Rotary clubs in the Western Cape. Rotarians there told me that each club, I think there are 21 clubs in the Western Cape, hears as many as 15 presentations by ambassadorial scholars each year. Now that's a lot of, my name is Catherine, my dog's name is Duchess, and I was determined for my presentation to be different than the hundreds, literally, who had gone before me. Instead of giving biographical facts about myself that the Rotarians were guaranteed to forget the moment that I sat down, I presented them with a list of 25 things that I love, enjoy, and am thankful for. My list included everything from number 2, my brother's art, to number 15, reading. When I talked about my sponsoring Rotary Club's project to supply books for local libraries in Springfield, Missouri. I asked each Rotarian to compile a list of his own. And as I presented my list that reflected my personality and my culture and my Americanness, I invited the Rotarians to share items from their list. Their input gave me a better understanding of their personalities, their culture, and their South Africanness. Leaning into my skis wasn't so easy when it came to attending the prestigious University of Cape Town. I enrolled in the Postgraduate Diploma in Marketing program, and the phrase diploma program for me meant one day of class each week, 2 days of writing papers, and 2 days of surfing at the Muizenberg beach. Now to the South Africans, the phrase diploma program meant classes 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Now Rotary didn't give me a scholarship so that I could spend a year in a cubicle in the library. So to maintain a balance between academics and culture, I set an academic performance goal for myself. And in South Africa, a 50% is passing. A 51 was too close, but a 52 is just perfect. A goal of 52% didn't prevent me from learning. It gave me an opportunity to learn in other ways. For example, I was the only American in my program of 180 students. Half of the students were white students from very wealthy backgrounds. Half of them were black students who rode the minibus taxis in from the shanty towns each day. Now, as you may imagine, the mix created conflict and debate. During the debates, instead of taking copious notes for the test, I learned instead about each side's attitude, about the rationality of this concept called white fear. In group work, instead of just taking over projects so that I could get the grade that I wanted, I stepped into more of a support role so I could watch how the South Africans interacted and operated. I learned that while the Americans have a very point A to point B communication style, the South African communication style resembles a slinky, where you go around and around and around and around and around to get to the final point. As it turns out, it wasn't very hard to learn in class because the material was fascinating. The country struggles with an HIV/AIDS rate of 20%. My consumer behavior class focused on, if we can get people to buy Gillette razors, then why can't we use those same tactics to change behavior that spreads AIDS? My marketing class introduced me to the emerging black middle class. These people work at companies like Procter & Gamble and Unilever Monday through Friday, and they slaughter goats on Saturday to gain favor with their ancestors. I learned how you change overall business strategies when 30 to 40% of your economic activity occurs in black market or informal markets. Also, Cape Town has been named the International Design Capital, so my sustainability classes focused on recycle, reuse, reduce, and redesign. I attended 2 TED conferences where the TED Talks discuss everything from hospital design in rural Africa to turning Cape Town into a city of canals if the sea levels begin to rise. Not all learning occurred in the classroom. I lived in a university residence for postgrads. My flatmate, Lynette, was the sweetest PhD student from Zimbabwe. She studies how to indirectly test for aerobic capacity in rural Africa where lab equipment is not readily available. We learned from each other the way only people who share a bathroom for a year do. I had never been exposed to how black people care for their hair. My marketing mind was really interested in this, so I said, Lynette, how often do you wash your hair? The same as you, she responded. No, like, how often do you wash your hair? Same as you. Do you wash your hair every day, every other day, 3 times a week? She goes, no, same as you, twice a month. She had never heard of anyone washing her hair every day like I do. Leaning into my skis also meant getting into the culture instead of observing at a distance. So yes, I went dancing and learned the traditional soki dance, but I also got into the messy stuff. Apartheid, the continued, if unofficial, economic and social separation of races, is still an issue in South Africa. Other ambassadorial scholars stuck with one group. They were scared of the Afrikaners, white South Africans with Dutch heritage, because they knew them to be hateful oppressors. I attended one of the only racially integrated churches in Cape Town. And thanks to my diverse church and the diversity of the university, I developed relationships with the Xhosa, the English, the Zulu, the Afrikaners, the Indians, and the Cape Coloreds. I found that they are all good people. I found that most are racist in some way. South Africa has a very long way to go. I was lucky enough to meet many people who are working towards a unified rainbow nation. I attended an Anglican service led by Nobel Peace Prize winner Desmond Tutu. And when a man internationally known for his part in the struggle for peace in apartheid and post-apartheid South Africa serves you communion and says, "Peace be with you," how else can you respond but to say, "And also with you"? I needed all the prayers for peace in Cape Town that I could get. The city is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. People shoot you on the street for your cell phone. The Rotarians gave me a long list of no-nos. Don't go into the townships. Don't go along a main road. Don't drive alone at night. Don't stop at stop signs. Don't stop at red lights. Don't carry money. Don't give money to people on the street. And do not take a minibus taxi. Every day I went through a locked gate, a locked complex door, a locked flat door, and opened 2 locks on my bedroom door just to get into my room. The precautions and prayers worked though, because I left South Africa without any incident. Now the precautions didn't mean that I stayed behind all of those locks. Nope. I decided that leaning forward meant accepting every invitation that I received. This meant I accepted invitations to Afrikaans karaoke. I don't speak Afrikaans, and I really don't sing either, and invitations to tour the shanty towns. Rotarians invited me to rugby matches, and at the South African National Arts Festival in Grahamstown, I saw 16 shows in 4 days. I also spent a week running through the orchards and quite literally herding stray cows while I stayed with an Afrikaans farmer and his family. The invitations always brought new adventures. I took off on an 11-day hike through the Wild Coast region with a group of South African friends. After hiking Easter morning through forest for 15 kilometers, I was told that the remaining 10 kilometers hugged the coastline. And they weren't kidding. I found myself literally plastered against the side of a cliff as I walked around holding a chain for dear life as the waves of the Indian Ocean crashed just 40 feet below me. You may remember that as a Rotary Youth Exchange student in France, I was invited to eat a plate of donkey. Well, in the end, it turned out to be turkey. As a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar, I was invited to eat a plate of zebra, and it turned out to be zebra. Let me tell you, it does not taste anything like chicken. In December, a Rotaract friend called me. He said, "Another Rotaractor and I are going to speak to Rotary clubs in Namibia tomorrow. We'll be gone for about a week. Do you want to come?" Of course, I said yes. Now, Namibia is the country just north of South Africa, where Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie go for the delivery of their babies. Of the 3 of us, one girl absolutely refused to drive, and the guy who had volunteered to drive spent the entire trip in the backseat of the car with the stomach flu. So it was me who drove the majority of the 38-hour drive through the beautiful Namibian desert. Me, who drove stick shift. Now, I couldn't drive stick shift before that trip. And my companions will tell you that I couldn't drive stick shift during or after that trip. The guard at the Namibian border post asked me, "Are you drunk? Do you have a driver's license?" As he watched me start, stall, start, drive, reverse, stall, start, drive, and stall. 6 Rotary presentations and literally hundreds of stalls later, we made it safely back to Cape Town. A week after that, I repacked all of my possessions into 2 suitcases, sold my little Renault Megane, and got on a plane bound for Springfield, Missouri. I spent a year leaning forward. My minister was right. Lean forward on your skis and you'll be fine. Lean forward on your skis and you'll have the best year of your life. I wouldn't have had anything to lean forward into without your sponsorship, without your support, without your generosity. So thank you. Thank you for sending me to be an ambassador to Rotarians and to non-Rotarians, to the Xhosa, the English, the Zulu, the Afrikaners, the Indians, and the Cape Coloreds. Thank you, Rotary Club of East Alton, for a great year in Cape Town.